Welcome back. Our second conversation this morning is all about CARIFESTA and Belize's involvement in this year's exchange. We have with us the director of the Institute of Culture, Creative Arts, my apology, Kim Vasquez, and she's joined by fashion designer Ronelli Rikenya. Ladies, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
You're fresh from Barbados, right?
Yes.
What was that experience like being part of CARIFESTA, Ronelli?
It was refreshing, I should say. It's, well, we all know CARIFESTA, it's one of, not the biggest festival for the arts and culture. It's my first time attending it, part of the contingency under the fashion department, where Emilio, Xenia, and myself showcased our work. It was the first time for me doing an entire resort collection. So it was a lot of firsts for me. Great experience.
Were you prepared for what you were embarking on in terms of getting to Barbados and seeing all of this culture come alive?
Well, I have done several fashion-related travels, but this one was definitely something that took a longer time to get ready for. Like I said, it was the first time doing a resort collection. But what I wanted was to showcase a little bit of everything Belize has to offer. So it took a lot of research on my part, on partnerships with other creatives and artisans from around the country to make this whole collection come to life. But again, it was a learning experience.
Kim, when was the last time Belize participated in CARIFESTA?
Well, the last one was 2019, just before COVID.
Wow.
And then, normally it's every 2 years, but then, with COVID, it took a while to come back. So it was last hosted by Trinidad, and then now it was hosted this year by Barbados, who embarked on a very ambitious program because they felt the need to bring CARIFESTA back big, on a large scale. It is definitely, for me, over my years at Niche, to me, one of the most visible CARIFESTA. And I say that because, again, where we are now, 2025, everything is live stream, everything is real. You have so many of us as creatives are also content creators. So you had all of the microblogging, and it was just like a bombardment.
You couldn't escape it.
You could not escape it, and that's all of the countries from the region. As I said, everybody putting out their content, everybody sharing. And that's just the way it was on the ground as well. The grand market, the architecture of that structure was beautiful, really impressive. It had its own pavilion for fashion where Ronelli and Emilio were. We were so proud of them to be in the audience. I got all emotional seeing them come down, the models come down. Both of them, Emilio and Ronelli, took full collections and beautiful. Really, the craftsmanship of their work really stood out, and you heard, I was there in the audience while they were backstage with the models doing their things. You could hear the, oh wow, and that, as I said, that's from the region. Throughout that whole CARIFESTA, we kept saying to each other, we are one Caribbean. That was kind of like the hashtag. And so when you see Belize up there, and you hear your regional partners going, wow, that's really great work, you feel so encouraged.
I have a curiosity. I don't recall, and maybe I'm wrong, that a CARIFESTA has ever been held in Belize, or perhaps it has, but so far behind me that I can't remember attending one or being aware of one. Is that something that we're considering somewhere in the near future, perhaps?
We can always consider it, and it was one of the discussions that came up in the heads of delegations, these meetings we would have as a region going into CARIFESTA, that there are countries that have hosted it more than once. Barbados has hosted more than once. Trinidad and Tobago have hosted more than once. Jamaica has hosted. St. Kitts hosted. Suriname, Haiti has hosted. And so there is every country that hosts it, you can look at it as giving focus to that part of the Caribbean. And I could feel the strong Eastern Caribbean presence this time. And we saw that with Chico Ramos, with his performance. And then you realize he's huge in the Western Caribbean, he's huge in Central America. But it was like, there were people telling me, we know him, we had heard of him, but it's like we're rediscovering Chico.
Yeah.
One of the officers that was assigned to us there, to our delegation, she said, I had heard his name. He said, and I jumped on YouTube and I showed my husband, and they were like, of course we know who Chico Ramos is. But, you know, I mean, their response to Punta Rock. You know, even one of the members from the secretariat from CARICOM, she said she was actually in the fashion pavilion watching a fashion show. He said, and when I heard Chico Ramos strike up, he said, I went running. just the rhythm and the music, you know, and people reacting to his songs. I was married to him, you know, neighbors and drums. Those were the 3 hits. And every time he would perform these songs, he did 3 performances, he would get these reactions to his lyrics and the music, and even the way the band looked and sounded. It just stood out, and you know, you felt so uniquely Belizean.
I have to ask Ronelli and Kim, we often don't see how much work gets done in the orange economy. We kind of just toss the word around, right? But as Belizeans, we don't necessarily get to see or appreciate the work that gets done by our cultural creatives. When you were out there in CARIFESTA, where do you think we stood on a particular area? Where do you think Belize is when it comes to developing their cultural and creative sector?
Well, as you may know, they have much larger contingents than Belize took. You know, some of them are 100, 150 members in their contingency. But in all of that, within the big booths, we had a booth and we did our best. But one thing I must say, I'm not being biased because I'm Belizean, we had luxury level items. That's one thing I can say. Luxury level items, and you can ask us about every single item that was there. We have a story from the artisans all the way down to our traditional cultural stories that are attached to them. One of the most coolest thing that we saw, people kept on messaging the artisans like Emilio, Galvano, Ziania, hey, what time are you coming? Because I want to buy this. I saw it yesterday. I'm coming back for it. They learned about the Cadejo. They learned about the Jankuno masks. So, as you know, they have all of these big, elaborate screens and stuff from other countries. A lot of people came back, kept on coming back to Belize's book. We had Kansham. We teach people about Kansham, Koto Brut, the fudge, and
so long.
yes. So we had a little bit of. It was cozy.
Yes.
It was very homely, and what I loved was that we shared our stories, and then they're like, "Oh, we do that in our country too," and this is what it named. So we had that interaction all day, every day for the past 9 days.
Still can't believe CARIFESTA.
It was, and again, it just speaks. Maureen Navarrete sold out. Nothing. She only had her 2 large wall art that she took, and even though those didn't sell, it's like Ronelli said, one was Sunantunich, and every time people would come to the booth, that was an opportunity to talk about Sunantunich. The other was a Scarlet Macaw, and it was an opportunity to talk about Belize again. And you know, I was just blown away by the amount of traffic. And you know, we said this, we are a small but powerful delegation, and we are really quite pleased because it's true what Ronelli said. Everything we took was well thought out. The Handmade by Belize, we were proud to have that out there as this national level project that Niche has launched to work with artisans, to work with people like Emilio and Zania, and you know, and to have their work out there and people coming and you just seeing them buying, you know, just to watch the money, you know, the transactions happening. And you know, I think some of them, I think Emilio even got orders.
Yes, actually, Ziania and Emilio, they ended up moving from one booth into the more central part, and people kept on coming from big boutiques from different parts of the Caribbean, very interested in the techniques and the story behind each of the bags. But you can't left behind our diaspora, they were super supportive.
Super supportive.
Looking for us every single day, asking, when is Chico Ramos coming up? When are the fashion designers coming up? They want to be there and support, even if that one Belizean flag is sitting at the crowd, but they are there.
Still there.
Yes.
And we need to also highlight Chico and his Caribbean Icon Award. And yes, that first night where he performed his Icons performance, we were so touched by the diaspora being there. And you know how things go in the Caribbean. Some performances gone overboard, so the program went down really late, and they just waited so patiently with their flags and everything, and they were just determined to be there. And as a result of that, what that meant was that he was invited back for an encore. They said, no, we have to bring him back earlier, and so he did, actually, instead of 2 performances, they did 3. And he really was presented in such a really nice and meaningful way to have his bio read, and that was a new feature for CARIFESTA, the Caribbean Icon Award. And he was recognized with Jimmy Cliff, with other icons from the region, and you would hear their bios being read, and then you understand that yes, they have done so much here at home, but regionally, what they have given as well.
I think that's the beauty of it. Simply, in a manner of speaking, not waiting till the man dead fit a lie good, right? The regional recognition behind the work that someone like Chico Ramos has put in, as we've mentioned, not only here in Belize, but across the region in the diaspora community as well. My question for you, Ronelli, has to do with perhaps the one takeaway for you from this experience. Was your first CARIFESTA? What did you walk away with that has perhaps changed the way that you look at the work that you do and the engagement that you have with your customers?
2 major takeaways. Learning and networking from other designers. One thing, when you go to CARIFESTA, you see so much crafts, so much artisanal work, the craftsmanship, the level of it. And now we came back, not just me, we all say, oh, now coming back home, we could do this, we can integrate this, because we do that in our country too. So how can we partner up with more Belizean artisans here? And 2, that we aren't behind. Belize is no way behind in this. All from our music to our craft to the food that we saw out there, we're no way behind. We are like right there, up to par with other Caribbean countries.
As a fashion designer and as somebody that your work kind of takes time, you have to be able to not just make the costume, but you also have to design and so forth. In your line of work, how do you see yourself improving, and how did you see CARIFESTA helping you to improve?
This year with this collection I was very ambitious. First being we did a 14-piece collection, and one of the features that the highlights was I did a dress out of the saber tree petals.
Wow.
And even getting at the airport, they flagged us like we gotta open our bags, and when they saw the dress coming out, then they're like, "This is that whole dress, mommy?" It's a whole dress, and they're like, "How long did it take?" But when we took it there, we had premier designer Anya, and we had Fonel, and we had designer from the Beyonce brand there. Luckily, at the same time we were up for the fashion show, they were getting off the conversation, which happened on the same stage. I'm a big fan of Anya. She was one of the winner of Project Runway. So I took her in the back. I'm like, "Can you see my collection? I want to know what you think." And she saw that one dress with the saber tree, and she was asking so many questions.
That's right there. Yeah, the movement.
So much question, and the smell. You could still smell the richness.
That's what I wanted to know, because you took these. So Ziania and Emilio that have smaller, Maureen they have smaller items. You had to take full-blown designs and so forth, and to carry that all the way to Barbados.
Yes, it was. They have to be very careful taking it. But one of the major takeaways of it is that I'm a bridal designer. Now that's my breadwinner. But it just showed me that I have the abilities and just like any other Caribbean designer, to do resorts. Even though our culture might be a bit different, we're not, we're not all about beach and the sand and the sun, but I'm still able to use our Belizeanness and put it within that beachwear setting that looks a lot different than what's out there, but still, it has a little bit of us, and we have a story to tell. It's just not just a lot of fabrics and what's not, but it's up to par. That's one of the major takeaways. And
so now you're back.
Yes.
You're feeling energized, or maybe you need some rest. I'm not sure. What's next, Kim?
Just like Ronelli, one of the features I really appreciated, I understand that this was the brainchild of PM Motley, was to have these big conversations, which was a lot of panel discussions and talks. And Ronelli and I actually attended one as well, a symposium, right? She was the only one able to go with me to the symposium that they had on funding culture.
Yeah.
And so behind all of this showcase and the highlighting and the performances and the vibrancy of the Grand Market, there was a lot of meaningful cultural and creative industry development discussions happening. A lot of the heads of delegations, while the performances were happening, we were engaged in these big conversations, as they were called. How do you leverage what we call yard rhythm, which every country have their yard rhythm, right? How do we look at funding culture? And so for me, I come back energized. I come back with a lot of ideas that I have exchanged, and you feed off of that energy. And so we're well, of course, I'm going into September celebration. I'm ready for Panyard, right?
Yes,
But definitely it's tired. We're a little tired. We traveled a long time yesterday, but I think we are energized, and if anything, we're ready to do bigger and better things.
All right. As we wrap up our conversation, congratulations on a wonderful rollout at CARIFESTA. I think I'm not going to post up all the videos. They're going to gatekeep our
We were so much. Even like I was part of one of the panel discussions.
She was also a panelist. Yes, you forgot to mention that.
Yeah, but it was just a lot happening all at the same time. So there will be videos, there will be more content coming out.
Okay. Final words, Kim?
We're just want to continue to highlight. You nailed it. There's far more content we want to put out, we want to share. We want to really highlight the full impact that Chico had there. We want to look at Handmade by Belize. So we have more to share, but we just really wanted to just come in fresh off the road and share with Belize what we have done out there at CARIFESTA.
Beautiful. Before I leave you, I have a cultural word of the day, and I know you might get this one, Kim. So the word or the phrase goes like this: never drop the bone for catch the shadow. Yeah, Renella's like, what? Never drop the bone for catch the shadow. What do you think?
Sometimes you don't appreciate what you have because you want to be chasing something else, when you should be focusing and enjoying and savoring what you already have.
Okay, that sounds like something Kutcherments would say.
Yes. So, Kim, you actually had it. It says, don't lose what you have because of greed.
We definitely need to share the one with Andrea.
Yes, never drop the bone for catch the shadow.
There's another English proverb that is in line with that. A bird in the hand is worth two in the bush.
Right,
there you go. Yeah. Don't lose what you have because of greed for more. So, wonderful takeaway, ladies. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, and best of luck in your endeavors. All right. We are going to take another quick break, and when we come back, it's all about Belizean word search adventure. Don't go away.